I'm Russ.
And this is episode 184.
184, back in the virtual basement, guys. We are once again continuing our quarantine production here in with Nerds with Alcohol.
And sorry for being late again. Technical difficulties kept us from getting started that time.
Exactly. But here we are, and we're alive, and things are pretty much the same.
Starting the show every time with technical difficulties really makes it so that I really want to drink.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I do not envy you your position as technical guru on this show.
Yeah, it's frustrating at times. So I was trying to work out a problem. Part of the problem we had last week, and ran into a different one this week.
Yeah, exactly. But we're here and we're ready to go. So, holy shit! How was your week, brother?
Pretty simple actually. I mean, not a whole lot has changed. I mean, it's still working from home. Still,
Right.
I mean, I was on call last week, so I worked close to 50 hours, which I don't normally
Well,
do.
right.
But it was cool. I actually had to go in the office once because I had to change, but it was good. Everything went well with the change. Very successful. And
Good.
overall, just a good week. Didn't have gaming on Saturday with my other group, and one of my other groups, and the other game that I run, and that went well. It was a typical dungeon crawl. It was challenging for them, but they made it through so far. But they're finding that they have no place to rest, and they're already getting close to being out of spell slots and things like that.
Oh, that's the worst, man. When you're like ready to when you know you're going into like a boss battle or something, and you have to go in with like maybe half your spells, if that. Yeah, that's a drag.
Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. Can you guys hear me better now?
Let's see. What, could they not hear you?
They're saying that I was really quiet. No. Okay. Let's see. How about now?
That's weird.
Yeah, it's really weird because I am turned up. Let me check my mic. Yeah, it's set there. I see it. So, okay, can you hear me now? Get more technical difficulties. That's awesome.
Yeah. You're. I just turned on the audio. I can. It's barely hear you.
Getting better. Okay, well, I moved the mic a little closer to me, but I can't turn it up anymore. I'm gonna deafen myself. I think it doesn't sound good to me right now because it's so loud in my headphones. Um, but that's the volume there. It might be, but this one, if I keep turning the gain up on the recorder, it's gonna go crazy too. So I'm not sure which one it is. Let's see. That's actually just the headphones volume, I think.
Weird.
Oh, you know what? Let me make sure that in resetting everything, it didn't actually reset which mic it's using. Because that would suck ass.
It could totally be that.
Let's see. Nope, that one's using that. Okay, and so here and here is the default. Let's go here. How's that? That actually sounds a lot better to me.
Yeah, that's better. There you go.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
I don't know why you don't just disconnect those mics while we're not using them.
Well, because it's set up. Oh, you know what? Now I've got the echo back. So,
you know what? It doesn't come across on the show.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll just have to deal with it because I do have an echo in my head. So yeah, it's going to drive me nuts all show. I'm probably going to stumble over my words. It's having me. I'm having a hard time even thinking now.
You were saying, like I said, why you don't just unplug the mics while we're not using them?
Some of them, it's like that one. It actually wasn't. I don't know what it was going to. I think it might have been back over to the Plantronics, which is my work headphones. I guess I could disconnect them,
Matter of fact, you know what? Why don't we go ahead and do that? And that'll just make sure that that's not an issue. There, I'll take that out. Yeah, so that's not where the echo's coming from. But anyway, so how was your week?
About the same, man. I mean, I didn't expect to go back to work last week because I had talked to them the week before, and I knew it wasn't going to be, they weren't going to be ready to have me back yet. And then so this week it's pretty much, it's just been kind of the same old, trying to get some drawings accomplished, trying to get some other things accomplished around the house, trying to, maybe get some gaming in, that kind of thing. Still, and I did, we watched that movie Knives Out last week, which is excellent. Really
I really
good.
I know to see it, and then I found out it was a Rian Johnson film and said, fuck him.
Dude, just because he made a Star Wars movie you disapprove of doesn't mean that he's good at making other movies. Because it was a really good murder mystery. It was, and it wasn't just. It was a very interesting way of telling the story too, because it was like we knew how the character ends up. We know how the character dies. It was more about trying to figure out why he died. I mean, well, I guess that's the case with all murder mysteries. But in this, you actually know. Okay, we know that this is how he died, and it was an accident. But now, how is this person who accidentally killed him going to handle the situation? How is this person going to get out of it? So it was really, really fucking cool. I highly recommend it. It's on Amazon Prime right now.
Yep.
And if you want to check it out, I actually bought it. I ended up buying it. We were at the store the other day getting some prescription for Stella, and I was like, you know what? This is a movie I'd add to my collection. It's pretty cool. I did reconnect with a friend of mine from high school.
Cool.
Which was really awesome. Yeah, my buddy David. We've been friends since sophomore year of high school, and he lives in Phoenix. He's a school teacher in Phoenix, and he just announced that he got engaged. And so I was like, oh, that's really fantastic. And so we had a kind of a nice long video call. We hadn't really touched base in number of years. So I got to meet his fiance, and we kind of got caught up. And he invited me to game with him and a couple other old friends from when we were kids. And actually, one of the guys is my dungeon master from when I was in high school, and he was several years older. He was like six years older than us. Mm-hmm. And so he ran this really, really awesome game. And he was saying that apparently my character of Calidor was a character that, I mean, he still tells stories about some of the shit that went down in that game, particularly things about my character. I notoriously rolled bad for that character. I fumbled so often with that character, it was ridiculous. And so it was really cool. So I was talking to David, and he invited me to play in this game on Wednesday nights. And so then Jim, the little dungeon master, a buddy of mine, he called, he texted me, and he was like, hey, you want to play? And it'd be awesome, and blah, blah, blah. And so we also got into a video call and got caught up, and I have to look at some of the stuff that he sent me, but I'm looking forward to playing some, not D&D, like some kind of different, much more simple system to play on a virtual kind of thing, because he doesn't really want to use D&D Beyond right now, or D&D. Yeah. He doesn't want to use D&D. He's kind of, like I said, he's kind of old school, and he'd rather not use. He's got a bunch of other systems that he wants to use and stuff. But once again, that was kind of a highlight, and
cool.
I don't know. I'm hoping to go back to work next week, if not soon after. And we got the 4th of July coming up soon.
Yep.
Unfortunately, Governor Whitmer did say today, I think it was, that we probably would not be going into Phase 5 by the 5th, by the 4th of July. There was some hope that the state could be going into Phase 5. But I think because there has been, although Michigan is still doing well compared to many other states.
Well, we were.
Yeah, we were, and we still are compared to other states. But
Hey,
it is starting to. We are. Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, good. We are starting to see numbers climbing and whatnot.
We had our biggest spike and the most number of cases in a single day since like mid-April or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had 314 cases on Saturday, brand new cases confirmed. So
Right. So she's saying that. I mean, and that's nothing compared to what Texas and Florida have seen.
well, yeah.
Florida and Texas have both seen numbers in the thousands. So
Florida
in
is a
day.
special kind of place.
They are. I've learned that living there for 2 months for
There's a reason.
every year.
There's a reason that there's the Florida Man game.
Exactly. So anyway, I mean, like I said, we are still doing all right, but it's looking like we will not be going into phase 5, which I really wasn't confident we would be.
I'm waiting to see if we wind up going back a phase. And she starts saying that bars and restaurants are going to have to close again because
there has been some talk of a possibility of having to step back again. I hope that's not the case. I just get worried that this quarantine and everything is going to last a lot longer than they had originally thought, and that I mean, we're going to need, if that's the case, we're going to need another stimulus package from the government. We're going to need continued pandemic relief payments because, like, if my job doesn't bring me back, I've got enough now saved to probably last me, between Stella and I, until the end of the year. But then that money is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Completely gone. The money that I have been able to accumulate, plus my savings that I have separately, would be gone, I'm sure, by the end of the year. So... yeah, the government would need to end up stepping in and offering another like pandemic relief kind of situation for a lot of us. Other than that, I'd have to get some kind of muggle job, which I'm not opposed to. But I was telling Stella that earlier today that it's because of the kind of art that I do. It's not like I can go to Ford and work as a designer.
Yeah.
Or that kind of thing. I mean, I'm an illustrator, fantasy guy. I do character drawings, and I'm a pretty versatile artist. But the stuff that I would have to do to make that's a little bit more marketable, a little more, I guess, quote unquote, easier to get a job in,
mm-hmm.
is stuff I have no skills in. I am not an automotive designer. I'm not a technical artist like that. That's a whole other fucking degree.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I can do layout and graphic layout and various kinds of graphic design. But I'd almost rather have work in retail than do that kind of artwork. It's just I don't know. Might have to make some hard choices and difficult decisions in the next few months if this continues down the road.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
But yeah. I also saw that there's a pharmaceutical company that is working on a medication,
a treatment
that seems to be working well for people, but they're going to be charging $3,200 per treatment.
Per treatment. Now they said that it would be billed to your insurance.
But that's why our insurance is so fucking high to begin with.
Exactly. It's almost $3,200 for a treatment.
And they got $60 million in public money to develop it.
Right, exactly. They've already been paid by the government. I saw that too. Already been paid by the government to develop this treatment, and now they're looking. It's it's going to cost you $3,200. I understand that pharmaceutical companies are still companies, and they have a right to make a profit. Absolutely, I'm not going to dispute the capitalism of it. The same time is they don't need to make $1 trillion fucking profit.
Right.
That's ridiculous. And in so doing, screw over the public and screw the American consumer. That's absolutely ridiculous. That's the problem that we're having with all of these companies, that they feel like they have to turn out this massive product, or excuse me, this massive profit. Thank you to their because of their stockholders and stuff, and end up like screwing over everybody.
Well,
And you're right. It is one of the reasons why medical things are so expensive in this country is things like that.
Well, that's because in America, in our capitalist society, our value is based on how much we have.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if I have more money than my great grandkids could ever spend in their entire lifetimes.
Right.
I need more. And if that means I screw over all of my employees to get that money, or the entire public to get that money, it doesn't matter. That's the American way.
Yeah, and it's something that we have to get away from. I mean, people will call it socialist thinking or communist thinking, and it's like, well, maybe a little bit, but that doesn't necessarily make it bad. It just means that we're taking into account our neighbors and the people that aren't as lucky or as just as privileged as the rest of us.
I'm not fully socialist, and I'm definitely not communist.
Yeah.
But I do believe in some socialism things, and we've done some socialist things. The people who scream and complain about the socialism and how wrong it is still cash those stimulus checks.
Right, exactly.
That's a socialist thing to do.
Yeah. So is unemployment. So is the Social Security Commission. I mean, Social Security is a socialist program. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's just. And there's nothing saying that we can't still have capitalist aspects in our culture and in our government without also having socialism.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, I mean, they're saying the UN has also said that we won't be going back to how it was exactly before the pandemic. That the pandemic is functionally changing the way the entire world is going to have to live their lives.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to, restaurants are going and bars are going to be forever closed and nobody's ever going to be able to be in a room with more than 4 people in it again. Now, these things will calm down, particularly after there is some kind of, vaccine for COVID-19.
If we get one.
Right. Which they're saying most probably that we will get one. It's just going to take time. But things are going to change fundamentally. Possibly for the good. Possibly some of it is going to be kind of shitty, so kind of sucky. But overall, things are going to change dramatically, and we're going to have to get used to that. And, it's just... It's going to be a bitter pill. It's going to be a tough thing to deal with, but people are going to have to change how they do things. I mean, and that even says, like, people who have careers and have like professions that deal directly with the public might have to change the way they make a living. They'd have to adjust how they do things. So we're in for a lot of changes and a lot of things to deal with, and that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks to some cases,
hey,
but in other cases, what's that?
Just so you know, your camera is cutting off the top of your head. There you go.
I can't really. I mean, I can maybe tilt it up a little bit, but there's not.
That's a little better.
I think I'd rather see more of my shoulders. I don't know. So, I mean, if anything, this has also proven that, people can work from home and be productive and still, and there even talked about that this could mean that we end up changing to a 4-day work week instead of a 5-day work week. There's a lot of people, but there's a lot of different...
People have been talking about that for years. I know I've been talking about that since back in the 90s at least.
Oh, yeah. Even if it extended the day, I'd happily work a 10-hour day to have a 3-day weekend.
Yeah. But I mean, you look at places like I believe it's Germany and France have instituted the 4-day work week, and they don't actually expand it out. It's still like 8-hour days or even 6-hour days for some of them, and they're getting paid full wages. And
I think it ultimately depends on the amount of work that gets accomplished. Well, like if you're getting enough accomplished,
they've actually found in studies that you will get more work done in a 4-day, 8-hour work week than in a 5.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you know you have less time, so you don't put things off.
Oh. All right. Yeah, that totally makes sense. It totally makes sense. I mean, hell, like I said, we'd actually even talked about it at the Parade Company a couple of times about doing something to that extent, extending the work, but still getting a 40-hour work weekend, but changing it to a 4-day week instead of a 5-day week. Like I said, I'd be fine, because honestly, if you're doing it an 8-hour day, or I would have to have an hour-long lunch for sure. But if you're doing an 8-hour day and you just add 2 more hours onto it,
yeah,
I mean, it's really not that much more of a stretch.
Well,
really.
But now you're talking that now becomes an 11-hour day if you add the hour lunch in.
No, I wouldn't want them to pay for that hour lunch. So instead of working till 5, I'd work till 7, but I'd get an hour lunch. But I also I'm not one to take breaks. I need my 15-minute break. I don't do that. I just kind of keep working. So, but anyway, I don't know. What are you drinking?
I am drinking one of my favorite beverages from Bee Nectar, Death Unicorn.
Death Unicorn. That's the best.
It is back. It is delicious. It is a ruby red color and very clear. You can even see me through it.
Yeah.
It is let me double check what it is. I always got to remember what's in this one. I know it's a black currant, but I think that's actually it. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it's black. It's black currant.
Yes, black currant. Thank you, Wings Kook. Makers gathered in their masses, just like brewers at black masses. Clever minds don't plot destruction. Sorcerers of cider's construction. In the tank, the cider's churning, as Bee Nectar keeps on turning. Black currant cider for mankind, enlivening their thirsty minds. Oh Lord, yeah.
Oh Lord, yeah. I don't understand why you couldn't have, sang it like Ozzy.
Because I don't sing I can't sing like Ozzy. Nobody wants to hear me sing.
That's true. That is true.
Now in darkness, cider stops churning. Currents in and all are yearning. New Death Unicorn has the power. Thirsty minds want to devour. Day of packaging, no more storing. Through the tap, Death Unicorn pouring. It's delicious, all have sworn. Death Unicorn laughing, raised his horn. Oh Lord, yeah.
Oh Lord, yeah. It's funny. I was watching. I was looking at my Hulu queue basically, and Hulu. One of the cool things about Hulu is there's a section that says expiring, so you can look at stuff that's going to be going off soon, and you'll be like, oh shit, I got to watch this before it leaves. And one of the things was it was an A&E show actually called Culture Shock, and it was about there was a show dedicated each show to something in the culture in the last 20 years or so that were particularly memorable. One of which was the death of Michael Jackson in 2009, and about how impactful that was and how everybody kind of lost their fucking minds about it and everything. And it was, even after all of the accusations and all of the suspicions of child abuse and child sexual assault and that kind of thing going on, people still loved the guy, it was crazy. A lot more has come out in the last couple of years, particularly the Surviving Neverland documentary and everything, to really drive home the fact that, Mike Jackson was a pedophile. But it was really, really impactful. And, but followed by that one, it was a really heavy one. Followed by that one was an entire hour-long kind of show about Ozzy Osbourne and about his show, The Osbournes, that he and his family created on MTV. And at the time, it was the most watched show on MTV and one of the most popular shows. it was hugely popular. It was on for 3 seasons, and so they did kind of like this behind the scenes kind of thing, and they talked to Ozzy and Sharon and the kids, and talked to all of them about it and how memorable it was, because the Osbournes was kind of the beginning of the celebrity reality program.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it was very much so. Before that, they'd pretty much just had The Real World. Now, The Real World was the beginning of reality TV, but
well, that and Survivor.
But Ozzy and then the Osbournes was the beginning of the celebrity reality television. So we would have had the Keeping Up with the Kardashians, or Hogan Knows Best, or some of the other ones that we've had. If we Gene Simmons' Family Jewels, if we hadn't had the Osbournes first, and it was pretty cool actually. It was a pretty cool kind of show detailing what they went through, because like the first season is relatively light and kind of silly, but then the second season, like Sharon gets cancer and they go through and they show what she was going through with her cancer treatment, and Jack goes to rehab. He gets addicted and goes to rehab, and then I think later on in the third season, Kelly has to go to rehab. So it's like it went from this kind of lighthearted show. It started off as just like, this lighthearted show about this weird rock star and his family, to being this like heavy shit, of reality. But so anyway, speaking of Ozzy Osbourne, it's just
so anyway, back to the Death Unicorn.
Yes,
it is absolutely delicious. It's kind of a tart blackcurrant flavor. It is really fucking good. It's one of my, like I said, it's one of my favorites. I love when they come out with. I was so happy to hear that they brought it out again, because they only do it every couple of years. And I give this 5 bottle caps. This is absolutely incredible, really, really good. So unfortunately, it looks like it is not widely distributed. It's not going to be nationwide this year.
That sucks.
So it is only local. So if you're local to the Detroit and or Michigan area, I don't know how far out they're going to go. If you can find it, pick it up. I highly recommend it. It's delicious.
I've always liked it. It's one of my top ones. I've always liked Black Fang is my favorite, probably my favorite hands down. But Death Unicorn is a very close second. It's a great drink. But once again, B Nectar puts out a quality product, so
yep,
a lot of them.
So what are you drinking?
You know what? I'm just drinking a Mosa tonight from Star Cut. It's one of my go-tos. I hadn't gotten a chance to get to the liquor store. I did see that my local bottle shop does have a few new ciders to try, so I'm going to get over there and get some new ones. But Stella and I were out running errands and whatnot yesterday, and then I could not sleep. Sunday night, I got like an hour of sleep.
Wow.
So she had to run to the. She had a doctor's appointment, and then we ran a couple of errands, and I should have stopped at the liquor store, but I didn't. Last night, though, I got plenty of sleep. But
see, last night I did. So.
Oh man. No, I got like 9 hours of sleep last night, thankfully. So, but I'd say it's weird. Like my allergies have been really acting up lately. I really hope I'm not allergic to Dresden, because that would be weird. I've never been allergic to dogs ever, but every once in a while, you never know, something happens. But like the last month or two has just been weird. How my allergies just been like my head is thick and I'm getting headaches.
Mine have been really bad this spring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, the last 3, I've actually been fighting a headache since Saturday. So
yeah,
I've had like a 4-day headache. Although today's been pretty good. I haven't been nearly as bad. So.
Right. So it just makes me want to sleep a lot. I don't think it's just that. I mean, people are like, well, you could be depressed too, And I'm like, well, that might be part of it. Being like all the shit that we're going through and stuff is probably creating a level of depression. But I don't think it's like, I don't know. I don't think it's making me sleep a lot. I think it's just my sleep schedule is completely boned right now. So, I am just so you know, like I said, I am not. I'm just drinking Mosa, but I am going to make an effort of getting something new next week.
Stepping it up
a little bit. Moving on, though, we got a couple of things to
Yeah.
talk about this week.
Well, we just yesterday we lost a comedy legend.
Yeah.
Carl Reiner passed away at 98, though.
98 years old. This was not like a tragic thing. He was with us a very long time and a very long life and very storied career. And from what I understand, had maintained his faculties pretty much up until the end. He wasn't like doddering or struggling with Alzheimer's or anything like that. He was still pretty sharp. Did they say what happened? How he passed away? It was just old age?
I'm at figuring that if you're 98, it's old age. Your body gave out.
Yeah. So our hearts and minds go out to the Reiner family, and I personally would like to thank Carl Reiner, for everything that he contributed to our culture and to comedy and everything. The guy was, particularly when he was partnered with Mel Brooks, the two of them really turned out some amazing stuff. Mel Brooks recently turned 95.
Yeah.
So he's not far behind the old man, that's for sure. But yeah,
he was known for the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yeah.
He was Saul on the Ocean's movies.
Yes. Oh my God, I forgot about that.
But he's done so much. He was a writer, an actor, a producer, a director. He really did a ton of stuff.
He really did.
He did The Jerk.
Now, did he write that? Direct that? What did he?
I think he directed it. Let me double check.
It's interesting. If you look him up on IMDb, his filmography actually lists him as a writer first.
Yes.
Even though he's only got 25 writing credits and 100 acting credits.
Well, it's because
it lists him as a writer.
It's
first.
because he did the Dick Van Dyke Show for so many years. He was actually credited with like creating that show.
Yeah.
I think he also did Dinah Shore Chevy Show.
Yeah.
But yeah. Let's see.
He's in Toy Story 4 as Carl Rhinoceros.
Yeah, he directed The Jerk. He directed Oh God.
Oh wow.
He directed The Man with Two Brains.
Okay. Another Steve
Martin movie. All of Me, which is also a Steve Martin movie. He directed Fatal Instinct.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's wild.
Summer
he
School,
actually did,
which was a really entertaining
that's
movie.
right. He directed Summer School and he's in it too. He has a small. He's the teacher that ends up winning winning all that money and deciding to not teach summer school. Yeah,
that was a good movie actually.
Oh, Summer School's great, man. That was one of those movies that was on in perpetuity on HBO, like every fucking day. Like you could watch that movie when we were teenagers. You could watch that movie like 4 times a week if you wanted to. Mark Harmon.
Yep.
Kirstie Alley. Yeah, it was great. It was a fun movie. That's one of those ones I would add to my collection. Yeah, he did a lot of acting. He's also done a lot of voice work too.
Yeah.
Like particularly in later years, he's done a lot of voice work. Like he actually did the voice of Shazam, of the wizard Shazam, in one of the more recent Justice League cartoons.
Justice League
Action, yeah.
Yeah, he was on the Cleveland show.
Yep. Let's see, Jake and the Neverland Pirates, Family Guy, American Dad, Bob's Burgers. He was on Hot in Cleveland, which that wasn't a voice one. He was in several episodes of 2.5 Men, some episodes of Park and Rec, yeah, the Cleveland show. I mean, but he did a voice for the Penguins of Madagascar. I mean, the dude was really, he was all over the place.
Yep.
Yeah. Father of the Pride. I remember that. That was that computer animated series that was back in 04. Yeah, he was, I mean, Yeah, and he was very memorable in the Ocean's movies too. That's right. I forgot about those.
He's in Toy Story 4 as well.
Yeah, I just said that as Carl Rhinoceros.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, he certainly made a very, very like a big impact on a lot of us, and he's going to be missed. That's for sure. Fatal Instinct, yeah.
So, I'll raise my glass.
Raise a glass to Carl Reiner.
Yep. Clink.
Sláinte. Oh yeah, he did Summer Rental.
Oh, yeah.
One with John Candy and Richard Crenna.
Mm-hmm.
And Rip Torn. God, yeah, that was a funny movie too.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that one.
So, on to some happier things. I also want to say a happy belated birthday to Matt Mercer.
Oh, yeah?
His birthday was yesterday.
Oh, okay. Happy birthday going out to Matt Mercer.
My idol Mercer.
The man who is who's like 75% of the reason why D&D is a monstrously huge new success these days.
Yeah, well, and speaking of which, Critical Role comes back this week.
Yeah, I saw that. Marisha, I posted it on our group page about how Marisha came on and did some updates. And apparently, one of the things they wanted to do is they didn't want to go back. They didn't want to do a virtual show because they felt that one of the reasons why the show was so successful was because of the in-person interactions that they do. But, it's been a while. The fans are clamoring. And they really want to get back to playing. Marisha talked about how much playing the game has become such a huge part of their lives and how much they miss it. So they have retooled the studio so that everybody is anywhere from 6 to 20 feet apart. And they all have their own individual cameras. They all have their own individual mics. So they'll all be in like their own separate... I think this is a little ridiculous, but they'll all be in their own separate, like booth essentially.
Well, they're still going to be in the studio together. It's just they're going to be separated by a good distance.
Yeah, they're all going to be in the studio, but like they're kind of be in their own like little personal
space.
Right?
They won't have booths and stuff. They don't have like the walls up around them.
Oh, no, but yeah,
they'll still be able to see each other and play off of each other's things. Although if it was me and we were sitting around like that with our group, I'd be like looking across the room, like watching. I didn't see what they did, so
I'm hoping that they have at least like a monitor in front of them so they can kind of see each other. So they'll each get like a feed from the cameras or something, so they'll be able to see.
Well, they did also say that they're going to pre-record all the shows.
Yes,
they will not be doing them live for the foreseeable future. That way they don't have to worry about time limits. They can just play and edit later if they need to.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But man, I mean, we've talked about this about like some projects we're working on. I mean, can you imagine though having to like fully edit a 6 of anywhere from a 3 to 5.5 or so hour show and edit out all of the edit out some of the goofy shit. It would definitely be a big job to edit that. And then on top of it too, you gotta maybe they'll even be able to do some fun stuff like edit in like special effects or something, or computer graphics or something goofy. I don't know. We could potentially see if somebody rolls a critical roll, a critical hit, they'll be like, they'll have flash it, 20s all over the screen or something.
Yeah, I just finished episode 98 today. So I've got 99. That was the thing. They stopped at 99. So their next episode, their first episode back, the one this Thursday, will be episode 100.
Yes, exactly. Wow, holy shit. That's going to be that's a good place to. I mean, it was kind of a good place to end it to pause, because then they could be like, "Hey, we're coming back, and it's episode 100, yay!" I'm at like episode 70, I think, so I still got a ways before I hit that one. But at least it's there. It's going to be back, and I'm glad for it. So thank you, Matt, Marisha, and the gang, for bringing back our entertainment.
Yes.
That is really great.
Thank you very much.
Exactly. What else did you have? What else were we talking about?
Movie. Sorry, I was answering. I was talking in the chat too. Well, one of the other things I was going to bring up is that Anthony Mackie has called out Marvel for its lack of inclusion of people of color.
Anthony Mackie called out Marvel?
Yeah. Marvel Studios.
Okay, well, the thing is, now first of all, I'd be like, Anthony, you're going to bite the hand that feeds you. Be careful. I mean, he is now the current Captain America. So
he's not yet, though.
Well, I mean, he will be. I mean, that's the thing with this, with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier coming up. I mean, and with Steve having passed the shield to him, he's going to be. They're setting him up for that kind of thing.
And that's what I figured too. But then they're doing the Falcon and Winter Soldier show, so I wasn't sure.
Right. Well, what I understand, it's about the Falcon getting used to and becoming okay with the idea of becoming Captain America. So it's like his journey of moving into that role. Now, Marvel can only do as much as the Marvel Cinematic Universe can only do so much as the comic book does. So if you're going to blame anybody, you can't really blame the studio until they decide to get around to spotlighting some of these characters, and like the Falcon.
And that's what I was thinking when I first read the headlines of that. So I actually read more about it. And he's not just talking about that. I mean, he is talking about that to some extent. But he's also talking about the behind-the-scenes stuff. And that his actual quote was that, let's see, when the Falcon and the Winter Soldier comes out, I'm the lead, Mackie told actor David Diggs during the pair's recent Variety Actors on Actors interview. When Snowpiercer came out, you're the lead. We have the power and ability to ask those questions. It really bothered me that I've done 7 Marvel movies where every producer, every director, every stunt person, every costume designer, every PA, every single person has been white.
Wow. Huh. Well, okay. All right. Well, fair enough.
I mean, if that's the case, then yeah, I agree with it. There's no reason for that.
You can't really call out Marvel Studios for not being inclusive. They made the Black Panther, for fuck's sake.
Well, and that's what he said. He goes on to talk about that. He said, we've had one black producer. His name was Nate Moore. He produced the Black Panther. But when you do Black Panther, you have a black director, black producer, a black costume designer, a black stunt choreographer. And I'm like, what's more racist than that's more racist than anything else, because if you only can hire the black people for the black movie, are you saying they're not good enough when you have a mostly white cast? Okay. And that's the thing.
Well, he's got some very strong points.
Yeah, personally, I think Black Panther was a fantastic movie.
It was one of the best movies they've made. It was absolutely fantastic.
They actually made a dumbass villain into a cool character again.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Well, like I said, I'm not on the insides there. I mean, if he was calling them out because of character stuff, I'd be like, well, you got to call. If that's the case, like I said, you got to wait. You got to wait until they're bringing around those characters in the Marvel universe and stuff. I mean. We have Black Panther now, and all the characters that came with that.
In all honesty,
we had War Machine in the very first Marvel movie. Actually, in Iron Man, Terrence Howard was the highest paid actor on the cast. He actually made he made more money to do that movie than Robert Downey Jr. did, and Gwyneth Paltrow, and everybody else. The thing is. Robert Downey Jr. got points on the back end. He was a little smarter about that. He also, I believe, got a writing credit too. So, I mean, ultimately, they took a big chance on Robert Downey Jr. to play Tony Stark back then. Now, and Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. was also instrumental in getting everybody else, all of the other actors, more money. Because Chris Hemsworth and Chris
Evans.
Chris Evans, thank you. All those other guys were making substantially less money for the Avengers and for some of the other movies, and then Robert Downey Jr. was like, no, we're going to make sure that we're going to bump everybody's pay up, and so they did. I mean, Marvel was like, all right, fine, if that's what you want us to do, we'll do it. So anyway, I mean, Iron Man had a very substantial supporting character in all of the Iron Man movies. In the character of Rhodey, first played by Terrence Howard, and then later played by
Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle, thank you. We had yes, the cast have been largely white or largely, but I think in a lot of those cases, it was very organic. I mean, that was just kind of they were using those established characters that had already been established in the comic books. Look at thankfully Captain Marvel. They used not Monica, but Monica's mother, the Rambeaus, and who is an established Marvel character, and later becomes a Captain Marvel. They also did more. They spread the. Look at what they did for Thor. Hell, they cast people of color in roles that weren't originally, those kind of written or drawn to be in those races. Like with Heimdall being cast, Idris Elba being cast as Heimdall, and I can't remember the name of the actor, but the guy who played Hogan the Grim, who's an Asian man. I think they've made some attempts, when it comes to the casting and stuff, and we're getting more and more into that. We're going to have a Shang-Chi movie. We're going to have another Black Panther film. That I think it's just a matter of time before there are more and more characters that are introduced into the Marvel universe that are not just Whitey McWhiterson. So particularly like. The Eternals movie coming up has got a lot of characters that aren't white. Kumail Nanjiani, who's one of the main characters, he's obviously a Pakistani actor. If it is true that Marvel doesn't hire as many people of color in their supporting. In behind the scenes parts, that is definitely something that needs to change. That is something that needs to be expanded upon. It is, and I mean, holy shit! I had no idea. My question is though, do people go? Are they hiring because? Are they hiring only white people because that's who's available? Or, are people of color not applying for those jobs? I would find that hard to believe as well. That there aren't, just a lot of black, people that want to be PAs or costume designers or stuntmen or whatever else,
That's true, yeah. Special. Falcon is pretty much a normal human with no actual special powers.
No, he's not actually. He does have in the comics. He has a. They say he's probably like a mutate or because he can communicate with avian life. He can see out of their eyes. He can communicate with avian life.
Well, they haven't done that in the.
They haven't done that in the movie, right? So the idea of
basically a soldier with a set of mechanical wings.
Right, he's got a jetpack, essentially. Yeah. He's a jetpack. He's got a jetpack. I agree with that to some extent. I think that they should at least do something to give him an edge beyond just being a really good,
some reworking of the super soldier serum or something like that.
Something that gives him, even if it's a armor or weaponry or something beyond just. I think when he joined the Avengers, they amped up his suit a little bit more. It wasn't just the jetpack. I mean, when they introduced him in Civil War, yeah, it was pretty much just the jetpack and the fact that it had these spring-loaded guns that he could pop out and stuff like that.
Well, then he had his little drone as well.
Yeah, he had his drone and stuff like that. I think that was his Red Wing. Instead of having an actual bird, Red Wing, he had a... so I think, yeah, I agree, CD. I think that that he should have something. They say that one of the reasons why Cap was so good at throwing his shield and catching it and using it was because of being, particularly strong.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the thing. They had established that Captain America was not superhuman. He was a super soldier, which gave him the peak of human ability, the peak human strength, the peak human adrenaline and endurance and stuff like that. Over the years, they've kind of tweaked it a bit more. That like he has a healing factor, and he has his body doesn't develop fatigue acids as much or as quickly, so that's why he can run for 4 or 5 times as long and a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically just over the years slowly tweaked it so that he's more and more powerful, but he still doesn't reach those superhuman levels like Spider-Man or the Thing or the Hulk and that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
he got pushed over by an ant. Come on. We'll see. It's not an ant. It's a human the size of an ant that still has the same weight and strength. So
honestly, I would like to see them develop the Falcon into the new Captain America and continue Captain America movies with him, because the Captain America movies, the way that they've done the Captain America movies, it's always been Captain and something else other than the first one, and even then it was him and the group that he had, the guys he rescued.
It was the Howling Commandos.
Yes, the Howling Commandos. That's what sorry, I couldn't think of their name. But
sure.
So, I mean, even they were in the movie, so it wasn't just him, but it was also just his. It was also his origin story. So
yeah, in Winter Soldier, you're right. I mean, there was the Winter Soldier. There was Black Widow was a major part of the movie, and then in Civil War, it was essentially Avengers 2.5.
It was. It wasn't really a Captain America movie. I don't think that was fair to make that a Captain America movie because it really wasn't.
I agree. I think you're right. I think I think they should continue on with Anthony Mackie as Captain America, at least for a while. Because I mean, I think
give him a 3-movie deal like the other guys got.
Yeah, the Falcon was Captain America in the comics for a couple years, and it was pretty cool. The comic itself dealt a lot with racial issues with society. My nose is really itchy today. Racial issues, societal issues. A lot of times, the Captain America comic book was just, Captain America fighting villains and fighting the Red Skull, and occasionally he will deal with a deeper conspiracy issue kind of thing or spy-oriented type of stuff. But it was very much like a comic, a superhero comic. The comic book that featured the Falcon as Captain America, Sam Wilson, was much more political. And it was appropriate because, the country was upset with the fact that Captain America was a black man now, or how often there was a statement in the comics where they were like that Sam had to deal with was like, well, not my captain, And it was similar to the things that we were dealing with, in our own political situation with Barack Obama, and people were like, he's not my president, and stuff like that. So there was a lot of parallel that happened in those comics. It was kind of an interesting thing. I mean, even to the fact that, when Donald Trump got elected, and a lot of people were like, it's not my president. Sorry, buddy, but, he won the election, he is your president. Just even if you didn't vote.
College.
Well, he won the Electoral College, of course. And unfortunately, that's what counted. So, it was interesting to read these comics. I read them most recently when I was getting caught up. I read them fairly recently, and getting caught up in my comic reading. And so the Falcon eventually does after Steve Rogers, because one of the reasons why he took over the Shield was because Steve had been aged to an old man and he couldn't do it anymore. And but then Steve Rogers
like in the movie,
right? Yeah, like in the movie. But then Steve Rogers got brought back, made young again.
He got better.
He did. He got better, and so he got brought back to normal. And then for a while, there were 2 Captain Americas. There was Steve, and there was Sam. And then some other things went down, and some more shit that they did in the comics with the what was it called? It was basically where Hydra took over the country, and they had changed. Steve basically became the head of Hydra, and it was convoluted, but it was actually a pretty cool story. Like basically, Steve had been split into 2 beings, and one of which was like it was kind of evil Steve and good Steve, but it was more complicated than that. It was more like a change of ideology.
Soap opera.
It was really more of a change in ideology as opposed to like, oh, I'm evil Steve and I'm good Steve. And so the good Steve came back, and Captain America again, and but then at the time the Falcon was like right before it happened. Sam was like, I can't be Captain America anymore because of some of the things that he saw leading up to it, and then so he went back to being the Falcon. But I think it would be great to have the character of Sam Wilson be Captain America in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for a while, and then maybe after he's done, maybe some Bucky can take over, or whoever. Maybe as the time grows and as Sam Wilson does his turn as Captain America, that will make James Buchanan Barnes, make him grow eventually into the role as well. So who knows? We'll see. I'm just excited to see what they're going to do all the way around with that. It's coming up pretty soon, actually. I guess they just went back into production on the Winter Soldier, Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
It's supposed to be out in August.
Yeah. They're just finishing up on the production. Both that and Scarlet Witch and the Vision, or WandaVision, excuse me. WandaVision are both due out in like August. So,
is WandaVision coming out at the same time? I didn't realize that. I thought that was coming out later. I thought it was
right around the same time, I believe.
Oh, see, I thought it was after. I thought it was going to be Winter Soldier or Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then once that was done, then we'd get WandaVision, because they weren't going to put any of them out at the same time, so that they overlapped. It was going to be one after the other.
That might be the case. I thought I had read that they were coming out together, but it makes more sense, honestly, to do it that way. To do it your way.
Well, and then we got Mandalorian coming back in October, so.
Correct. That's a big deal. Speaking of Mandalorian, I got a little news here. The Mandalorian is coming to comic books.
WandaVision is December of 2020.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna get Falcon and Winter Soldier, then Mandalorian, then WandaVision.
Okay. All right. Well, Lucasfilm has announced plans for a new line of Star Wars comic books based on the Disney Plus streaming TV series The Mandalorian, which focuses on the titular bounty hunter and his trials and tribulations protecting an infant colloquially known as Baby Yoda from malicious villains that want to learn the secret of the child's extensive force powers. Announced as a part of a wave of new Mandalorian products across multiple publishing media, Lucasfilm's plans call for comic books from both Marvel Comics, who share Lucasfilm's parent company, the Walt Disney Company, and who publish regular Star Wars comics line, and IDW Publishing, who publish the Star Wars Adventures All Ages comic line. Though the specific Mandalorian comic books planned for Marvel and IDW haven't been outlined, Lucasfilm also announced plans to adapt the plot of The Mandalorian as an all-ages graphic novel in Random House's Screen Comics line. Titan, publisher of numerous licensed and original comic books, was included in the list of publishers who will create magazine, novelty, and coloring activity titles based on The Mandalorian. So we're going to be seeing a bunch more Marvel or Mandalorian type of stuff coming from several other venues and whatnot. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
So,
Let's see,
well, one of the things I saw, speaking of Star Wars and Disney, is that there's a new rumor that's hitting the net that Disney is actually looking to erase the last 3 movies. That there's like a civil war going on inside of Disney at Star Wars Studio at the Star Wars Studios. This is supposedly from Doomcock Overlord on his YouTube channel.
So we should definitely believe somebody called Doomcock Overlord.
Yeah, well, I guess he came out with some spoiler stuff early on, so he has some inside knowledge. But he's saying that there's basically a Star Wars civil war happening at Lucasfilm between Kathleen Kennedy and Jon Favreau. And that and he actually goes into a whole reason, and I won't get into it now because we'll run out of time, but he actually gives a legitimate reason as to how they could do it and make those legends and then reset everything and just reboot from the end of Return and just do something, go in a completely different direction if they wanted. But it actually is something that's in in Rise of Skywalker and everything, and I think it's still far fetched, and it's kind of a reach, but it's plausible for Star Wars to do it. I don't care how they do it. I would love to see those 3 get nullified. So
just tell me. I mean, what is it? What is it?
It goes into, and I haven't seen this yet. Let me find where it actually is. Okay, in the Season 4, Episode 13 installment of Rebels. Sorry. This is from Rebels. In the Season 4, Episode 13 installment titled A World Between Worlds, the concept of the Veil of the Force was introduced. A mystical dimension of the Force that connects all time and space. He says that he's received confirmation from 2 additional sources claiming that this is spot on, that indeed Lucasfilm realizes they have a massive problem on their hands, that the Star Wars franchise is all but dead, and despite Kathleen Kennedy's hatred of the idea, Lucasfilm is preparing to render the sequel trilogy null and void. Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Skywalker will be removed from canon, isolated in their own alternate timeline, and regarded as an Elseworlds-like installment under the label of Star Wars Legends. The plans are not set in place, as again, Kathleen Kennedy is said to hate the idea and is said to be doing everything she can do to crush it. Basically, because if the plan comes to pass, then everything that she's done will be destroyed and tossed out and declared obsolete.
Right. Well, I mean, you see, if that's what they're going to do, then why don't they just listen to all the fucking people that are complaining about the prequels, too? You know, for all the shit that the prequels got about being terrible or being bad or being wrong or whatever. Personally, I thought The Force Awakens was a damn fine movie. Yeah, I had some problems with the, was it Last Jedi?
Yeah.
The second one, Rian Johnson's thing. I thought that the follow-up was, although kind of rushed and kind of squished together, was a decent ending. I think them doing away with it and doing like a kind of a brush away kind of thing would it's kind of does a disservice to more than just the writer and director and the actors, but everybody that worked on those films. Everybody that, I mean, all of the design people.
But you could say the same thing about the, 100 novels that they've labeled off as legends now that are no longer part of the Star Wars canon that were up until then. All those writers have been screwed then. If you want to do the same thing, those 3 movies, Force Awakens was probably the best of the 3, but even that one was basically just New Hope remade. It was the same concept. It was the same movie, and it's the same thing he did with that JJ did with the second Star Wars movie. He just basically remade Wrath of Khan.
Give me a second. Star Trek.
Or Star Trek movie, yeah.
Yeah, but he honestly did it better.
He did do a good job with it. I mean, I
He
like
did a
the
good
new
job.
Star Trek movies, but
I did too. I see your point, but the thing is ultimately when you're really talking about Star Wars, I mean, for the general fan, you're not talking about all the novels and the comic books and the video games and the TV shows and stuff like that. For the vast majority of people that love Star Wars or whatever, it's the movies. The movies are the most important component.
the
And
last two were horrid.
I wouldn't go so far as to call them horrid. They had big, massive problems, but I wouldn't go so far to call them horrid. The Last Jedi definitely had its problems, and I won't dispute that. I'd say that was probably the worst of the many Star Wars films. But
Rise of Skywalker was bad too, dude.
I won't say it was bad. I think it was a decent ending to the story they were trying to tell. Could it have been better?
It was an ending. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was a good ending. I think the whole thing with Palpatine was horrid. I think and making Rey Palpatine's granddaughter was absolutely abysmal.
I didn't like that. I didn't like the idea that that the Emperor was back at all. I would have rather they had used Snoke and had made him something completely different and something better. But
Which
instead,
I think was the original plan, and then
that was
Rian
the original
Johnson
plan.
took a shit on it.
Right, exactly. And I think if anything, if Rian Johnson hadn't fucked the second film, then they could have come up with a better ending and a better overall ending to the Skywalker saga. But I think I think they just need to move on. I think they just need to, all right, let's move on now. Let's move on with other stories in the Star Wars universe. Let's go in a different direction. I think just making this kind of broad wipe away kind of thing is just a bad idea.
I thought it was a bad idea to do that to the novels. So,
well, I think why don't, if they want to make another film or if they want to try, like say make the Heir to the Empire trilogy, then make that. But don't go and say this other shit never happened.
But it doesn't fit then. It doesn't fit into the Star Wars universe.
I don't know. Maybe they could still do. I mean, I think by just classifying it as legends, it's just people are just going to go, oh, that's just something different. I mean, well, I don't know. You could look at it this way too. They made the new Star Trek films, and they survived along with the old Star Trek films. So if they were to go and say, hey, we're going to try this again, I just would never want them to go, you know what, don't bother with those other ones. Don't bother with those other movies. Those suck. Watch these instead. I would rather the message of going, well, this was one story we told. Let's try it another way. And then go and do the Heir to the Empire trilogy or whatever else. The thing is, though, now too, maybe what else would they'd have to do? There'd have to be massive recasting.
And I'm fine with that. After seeing the shit we got in these other three, I was against recasting originally until I saw these three movies. Now I am completely for, and I will admit I was completely wrong. They should recast and have totally new people play those same characters to do those movies, because I think that those stories would be better.
I think, yeah, because that's the thing. There's no way, one, if they were to do Heir to the Empire only takes place like maybe 4 or 5 years after Jedi. So, one, like the fact that several of the actors are gone now. Princess Leia, particularly. But Harrison Ford, there's no fucking way. Even if they were to use the de-aging digital technology that they've been using, there's no fucking way Harrison Ford is going to come back and play Han Solo again. He doesn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it in Jedi. The only reason he came back to do it in Force Awakens was so that he could they could kill the character off. So, and I don't think Mark Hamill would be willing to come back and do it again either. So yeah, they would definitely have to recast all of those roles.
They're both also too old to play those characters now.
Well, exactly. But like I said, even if they used like the youthening digital technology
that would look horrible for the whole movie. If you want to do that for a scene or two, that's one thing. But
well, I don't know. I mean, from what I understand, they did it a lot in The Irishman, and that movie that's on Netflix right now with De Niro and Joe Pesci and whatnot. They said they used the de-aging technology on them so that those actors could play the same characters through like a 30-year process throughout the whole movie. So I haven't watched it yet. I heard it's amazing. So I'm planning on watching it.
3 hours to sit down. 3.5 hours, whatever it is. That movie's forever long.
I think it's actually broken up. I think it's like 2 of them together. I don't know. But anyway, so the technology is getting better and better about that. But even so, I just don't think Mark Hamill or Harrison Ford would be like, yeah, let's do this all over again.
That's the thing. I don't even think they really had to do much for like Samuel L. Jackson for Captain Marvel. I mean, the man still just looks young. I mean, you just put a wig on him and he's fine.
They did some. It was a combination of makeup with some digital effect, from what I understand.
But he didn't really need much.
He didn't need much. No, the guy never ages, apparently.
Him and what's his name? Patrick Stewart. I mean, Patrick Stewart hasn't aged in 3,000 years, so...
Well, Patrick Stewart's finally starting to look old.
Finally starting to, yeah.
Within the last couple of years, he's finally, like watching Picard, there were a few moments that made me go, ooh, wow, yeah, he's gotten... Man's starting to get old there. I think the first time I noticed it was when he made Logan. And I was like, oh, man, Patrick Stewart's starting to show his age a little bit.
Fuck you, Logan.
Yeah, fuck you, Logan.
Worth the price of admission.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay, so I don't know how I feel about it.
I'm all for
I
it.
would hate to see.
I'm all for it.
I know
Disney needs to put them in the vault and lock the fucking key.
You see, I don't know. Like I said, people said the same thing about the prequels, and now the prequels are canon. They're considered canon. There are a lot of fans like yourself hated the prequels.
Oh, yeah, I don't care for the prequels, but I'll tell you what, I'll take the prequels over those 3 turds that we got at the end.
Yeah, I still say Force Awakens was a good film.
It was a mediocre film. Right. It was...
So, the movie brought me to tears. It brought me to tears at the end. And it's not because of what happened in the movie. It brought me to tears because I was like, I felt like I was an 8-year-old in the theater again watching Star Wars, watching the
because you were watching emotion. The same fucking movie.
I never saw Star Wars in the theater. Not until they re-released it. No, it was just it evoked those feelings of being a kid again, and I wept. It was crazy. So let's move on. Star Wars. That is a holy shit rumor, and if it were to happen, the internet would fucking implode. So we'll see.
We'll see if that actually happens.
Right. I got a couple of things. I just brought up some stuff for the comic book, some comic book stuff. So Doom Patrol Season 2 has gone up.
Yep.
You can see it on both HBO Max and the DC streaming service. It's if you haven't seen, and you can see the first season too on HBO Max and the streaming service. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. It is a fantastic, surreal superhero show.
With
some really great character development, really fun stuff.
I just got an offer from DC Universe today to add HBO Max to my DC Universe subscription for $5 a month for the remainder of my term, which
it's not bad.
Well, yeah, except my term is up in like September or October, so I'm like, fuck that. I'm like, I already got it. I'll just keep paying the extra and.
Yeah. So yeah, check that out. Let's see, I had a couple of things listed here. Nothing major. there's a big crossover storyline in Marvel Comics called Empire, spelled Empyre, as in a pyre. That's going to cross over into the Avengers books, the Fantastic Four books. It's going to touch the X-Men books a bit, but not as much. They originally had planned a shit ton of crossovers, like a lot. There was supposed to be, basically they unveiled a new checklist of its upcoming summer event, Empire, to comic book retailers, including a rundown of all the issues and tie-in series planned for July through September, the planned span of Empire. That's in the list. What's in the list has already been known, but what's absent is the story. The crossover event was initially meant to launch in April, but was delayed due to COVID-19. The core limited series, several tie-ins, and crossover issues of ongoings have been rescheduled, but this new checklist is limited in scope compared to what was expected before the disruption, with 8 announced tie-ins not included in this, apparently its definitive list of Empire titles. 8 tie-in limited series / one-shots and 1 tie-in issue of an ongoing. 21 individual issues altogether are not included in the checklist. Empire Thor, Empire Ghost Rider, Empire Spider-Man, Empire Squadron Supreme, Empire Storm Ranger, Empire Invasion of Wakanda, The Union, and Strike Force number 10. All of those have been cut from the schedule. Basically, they're sideline stories that are probably just supplemental to the initial story. Empire Spider-Man, a 3-issue limited series written by Saturday Night Live alumni Taran Killam and artist Diego Ortalugi, was initially intended to debut in April and is planned to focus on Spider-Man interacting with the Cortati ancestral enemies of the Kree. It goes into details more and more about all of these stuff, but like I said, it's all supplemental stories for the initial thing, and it's looking like they're just going to sideline those. Maybe bring them out as a graphic novel or a collection later on. There's a part of me that's like, yay, good, because it's less I'm going to want to buy. But at the same time, it's Marvel pretty much circling the wagons during the COVID-19 crisis. There's a lot less money to go around, so collectors might be less likely to pick up extraneous minis that are not going to maybe affect the overall storyline as much. All told, that constitutes 21 issues of planned Empire-related content that appear to no longer be on the schedule, with 31 issues listed on the updated checklist. That means about 40% of the publisher's planned Empire comics have not been resolicited. And according to this new checklist, they are no longer included in the event. Marvel has not responded to a request for clarification yet, so I don't know. I'm looking forward to Empire. I think it's a story like basically a character from Earth who was half Kree and half Skrull has unified the empires and is now going to invade Earth, and so it's how they're going to react to that and how Earth is going to respond. And considering that the Kree and the Skrull had warred for centuries, having them as a unified force is really saying something. So, but it is also dealing with the cosmic aspect of Marvel Comics, which I have always liked. I had a couple other things here. Nothing super big. After the post-COVID publishing of the Supergirl comic is going digital, they're canceling it, and the last few issues are going to be digital only. I don't know how I feel. I'm not a fan of that. I feel like the last couple of issues should be published, but they're not going to, apparently. Also, several people have left the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund. The Comic Book Legal Defense Fund is a nonprofit organization that is specifically used to help comic book creators in legal issues and copyright issues and stuff like that. And apparently several people have left kind of in protest because there were some issues of some allegations had been listed by one of the other, a board member that had sexual abuse allegations. So this is a pretty big deal, actually. Paul Levitz, who was a 16-year veteran of the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, is retiring, as is Jeff Abraham and Catherine Keller, who are both, it's not big nerd news, but it is actually kind of a big deal within the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it, really. There's another article about Empire, but I pretty much covered it. So there was something else that I was gonna talk about, but now I'm blanking on it because that's the way my brain works these days.
Well, one of the things I was going to bring up was Renee and I have decided to start a new hobby because we don't have enough.
You don't have another hobby?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Because in all of your spare fucking time?
Yeah.
All right. What? Oh my God, Warhammer. Yeah, I saw you talking to Ed on the Discord channel.
Yeah, and then this is Renee's army, the Daughters of Cain. So, yeah.
Well, it'll give you plenty more shit to paint.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be going up north in a couple of weeks, and I need stuff to do, because I've realized I'm not as outdoorsy as I used to be. I used to like going out and just sitting outside and sitting by the lake and that kind of thing, and now I'm like, nah, give me my computer, give me my stuff.
Right.
But yeah, paint all the things. That's
Hey, I just forgot. I was going to show you something. I want to show something on the show, but I left in the other room. Give me a second to go get it real quick.
Oh sure, yeah. Just leave me here to talk all by myself because you just abandoned me just right there on the show. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to being able to put these models together. It's going to harken back to my days of when I was a kid and building models, but these are much cooler than the cars and planes and ships and stuff that I built as a kid. These are things that I'll actually get to paint rather than just put together and look at and leave on my shelf. And I can paint these, put them together, use them in a game that I actually know nothing about yet, but will be learning. So I'm really looking forward to it. Plus, the models are just so fucking cool. These models are just so fucking cool.
Warhammer the models?
Yes.
Yeah.
Originally, I was looking at 40K, and then Ed showed me the Age of Sigmar, the fantasy version, and I like the models even more because I'm much more of a fantasy guy than sci-fi.
That's a thing about the Warhammer stuff. I mean, I've always thought they looked fucking awesome, and the stuff that came out of the Warhammer game, they've always had some of the best figures, the best minis. I mean, so highly detailed, so fucking cool, and really, really bad.
And they've got so much lore too, which I love.
Right. Yeah.
And I love that about the games. Like, I sent Renee some stuff because she's not familiar with it at all, and I sent her some links for like the Daughters of Cain and stuff, and she came home and she's like, Marathi is a crazy fucking bitch. And she's like,
that's
but it's really cool. I mean,
the game has been around for a very long time, and so they've had a lot of time to put a lot of lore into it. That was one of the things that I always thought was a shame, was back when like Warhammer first started, was they had this really rich back history and stuff, but the game itself was just combat. Mm-hmm. It was just the combat of your armies and stuff. And I was like, why isn't there a role-playing aspect to this? Now, they did produce a Warhammer role-playing game, and I believe, I mean, I remember looking it over. I remember like looking through it and stuff, and I remember the game mechanics being kind of unwieldy or whatever. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's also kind of heavy. It's like, it's a very mature, very kind of like dark fantasy and dark sci-fi.
Oh yeah, it's all about demons and old gods and.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So it's not for the tender-hearted. If you like, your fantasy kind of light.
Like, I'm doing the chaos side just because I really like the ones I got are the Slaves to Darkness is the name of the group, and I really like the models, but they can also team up with a whole bunch of other ones, like the Nurgle worshippers and the Nurgle demons. They're all like pestilence and poison and things like that are just, I think, are cool.
Right.
Their abilities are really cool.
I've played it a little bit over the years. I've never had my own army. I would like borrow friends' armies or whatever and stuff like that, and kind of play I see the appeal. I like my games with some role playing in it, though. So I was never really one to like to get into it heavily. But I've always appreciated the artistry that comes with the models and whatnot, and the minis. They're just amazing.
Yeah, but like I said, with going up north, I'll be up there for like a week, so I figure I'll bring my painting supplies, and I'll bring the box set, and I can sit there and work on those all week.
Apparently, Renee's chicks bathe in the blood of their victims.
Yes, that's part of what the Daughters of Cain do.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, welcome to another obsession.
Yes.
I have seen too the fact that people that get into Warhammer too, you better. If I were you, I would clear some space on one of your shelves because you're going to need on a lot of your shelves because you're going to need places to display your armies and just places to keep.
There's going to be a lot. There's going to be bookcases dedicated to this. I think eventually.
Go, get out! You're a bad boy.
So what was it you had that you wanted to show off?
So okay, I got a couple of books. In the last week or two, I thought people would really be like to see or hear about. One of which, and I told you about this one, is the Chronicles of Exandria, the book from Critical Role. This is their book spotlighting the art of from the fans, for art of the characters and whatnot. I gotta say, like, there's Bo. Mm-hmm. Now this is of course from campaign 2, not campaign 1, and the art is all over the place. I mean, there's all kinds of really, really fantastic work here, and I of course would not say that these artists are amateurs because they are certainly not. There's some amazing work, all very, very like, oh my god, this is a great one of Molly Mock, just really beautiful stuff. Yeah, it's gorgeous. Normally I would have gotten a book like this on Amazon, but we were at Barnes & Noble, and I was like, you know what? It's a style. I will. I'll support the business, I guess. The interesting thing is this book is obviously was in the works for quite a while because the art that they chose for these to represent the characters and the events that were going on in the game were basically from like a year ago. So I'd say like the 30s or so, or even more than the maybe the 30s. The episodes 30 to 40 or so, maybe a little bit more than that. Because like I'm like episode like 70 or 71, and like I said, the art for the events and stuff just are from quite a ways back. The cool thing is seeing all these different artists and their different depictions of the characters, how different artists see like Ford and Jester and stuff like that. The cool thing is too, it's also accompanied by prose that is written with the idea that this book was built on the notes that were made by Bo to the Cobalt Reserve. So it's pretty fucking cool. Impressions of Shikasta. That's Shikasta. Mm-hmm. Well, that's pretty badass.
Yeah, I've seen that picture before.
Right. Like I said, all of this art was probably featured on the show from time to time. Like during the break or in the closing when they have like the
artwork,
pan across the artwork and stuff. So you might have seen some of it, but it's still to see it published in a nice big book like this is really fantastic. It was it retails at $45. I think on Amazon you can get it for around $30, but it was pretty cool. The other book I got was a Kickstarter. This book was kickstarted back in December, and they were looking for $30,000 and got like $250,000 to do it. And this is the new The Art of Frank Cho. It is his career retrospective, 20 years in the business, and it is quite thick, big book. This retails at $60, and you can still get it, even though like I kickstarted it. You can buy copies. They made plenty of them, but it was hugely successful, and they might have even gotten more than that. I think it wasn't quite Critical Role like Legends of Vox Machina animated series kind of numbers, but it was pretty impressive. But Frank Cho is a comic book artist that's been in the business for quite a long time. Came with a little print here.
Mm-hmm.
Been in the business 20 years. He started with Liberty Meadows, a comic strip that some of you guys might remember. He got into, there's some images from Liberty Meadows, characters from them and stuff. He is known for being an artist that draws, very beautiful women. He's drawn a lot of Harley Quinn covers, a lot of Wonder Woman covers lately. He's done some work for Conan. So anyway, this is a really great book, particularly if you like his work. He's very detailed when it comes to the anatomy. He has a really great touch on anatomy. It gets into a lot of his creator-owned stuff, his Marvel, his DC stuff. It's a really great book featuring his work. It is also like there's a lot of these kind of situations where it shows the pencil work, the ink work, and then the finished colored work too. So that's pretty cool too. You can see like the steps that he goes through and stuff like that. So 20-year retrospective on his work, and it's not like he's quitting or anything, but they thought they wanted to do this. The funny thing is, because I am a fan of his, and I have collected either a lot of his books or his comic books, a lot of the work that's in this book I already have in other avenues, other media. So there's that, but it's still really cool to see all of his work in one place like this. So pretty awesome.
Cool.
That was the main thing. Sorry for running off on you there for that 30 seconds or whatever. But.
That's all right. I feel that I just sat there here and babbled about
Warhammer.
Yeah. So
that's what Warhammer fans do, is they sit and babble about their armies. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. Like talking with Ed, he got I think more excited than me that I was interested in Warhammer.
Yeah, because then he'll have somebody else he can play with. You can go over and bring your armies over to his house, and you guys can have your battles. And yeah, absolutely, he'll love that.
Painting parties.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, I mean, they do have some of the best stuff.
I did actually.
Always very
Speaking
impressed.
of painting, though, I actually I asked Pete and Rich, my brother-in-laws, who play in our game. For those that don't know, in the game that Russ and I are in, I actually asked them if they wanted me to prime up their figs so they could paint them, and Rich was the only one that responded. Pete was probably too busy, but he's like, yes, please. So I actually primed up Octavian today. And I sent him a picture, and he's like, wow, you can really see the detail now, because he came as a black plastic. And so I primed him in white, actually, and because he's a light cleric. And I've got it right here, actually. And, yeah, the detail that you can see, I mean, you can't really see it so much in the...
Oh, no.
But still, the detail that came out, he's like, wow, you can actually see, like, all the detail and stuff. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, you said you started priming my character too, right?
Well, I started painting, yeah.
Painting him?
Yeah.
Cool. I look forward to seeing it.
The one that we've been using. He doesn't have the long hair like you do. He's got short hair, but it's an Aasimar paladin, so.
Sure. I can dig it. That's fine. But yeah, he's supposed to have long white hair, so. Yeah. Well, shit. Cool. I kind of miss doing that. I just can't afford to do another fucking hobby. I painted minis when I was in high school, and I enjoyed it.
And this is something Renee and I have started doing together. So it's like one of those things that we sit here. I'll pour myself a bourbon or a whiskey or something. She'll get some gin or a whiskey or something, and we'll sit here and we'll paint.
Right. I think that's great, man.
And we'll realize that. 4 hours have gone by before we even realize it. Yeah,
well, those are the best kind of hobbies, the ones that like you lose yourself in, and
Yep.
I mean, you can't. Sometimes, at least you're also like producing something that you can be proud of and everything like that. I mean, sometimes when you sit and play a video game for 6 hours and don't realize, that the sun has gone down or whatever else, or the sun has come up.
And long ago, somebody left with the cup.
Exactly. Yes. It's a weird reference. Anyway,
music reference.
I know.
You see, the top hat is just a perfect spot at times in the background. You have a top hat.
What's that?
You have a top hat on your shelf back there.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
he said that top hat is just perfect spot at times in the background. So like right.
You know, it's funny.
Looks like a little top hat on your head.
That top hat was a gift from my fairies in Florida my first year. Hang on.
Yeah, sure. Just take off the walk away again. I'll just sit here and talk, Russ. It's not a big deal. Just go ahead, reach back, grab your hat. Wow. Holy shit. Yeah, that's a fairy top hat. I can see that.
It's got all kinds of crap on it.
Yeah, it does.
Basically, my first year, at the end of my first year of festival in Florida, my fairies made me this top hat. They bought it was dusty. They bought like a kind of a mid-range costume top hat. This one's actually not bad. This would have been like a $20 or $25, costume top hat, and from Elope, and then they basically they all like glued something to it to represent their character and who they were, like little horns here, and a shell for the sea fairy, and a bug here for the bug fairy, and a little thing of violet dirt for our dirt fairy, dust fairy, and the art fairy and stuff like that, and like stones and like a paper flower, and it was super cute. I mean, I was stunningly embarrassed that I had to wear it the last day, but because they gave it to me like the last day or the second to last day, and they presented it to me in front of the entire cast, and during the opening, during the festival, like I was getting dressed, like I got everybody into makeup, and then I was like, I'm gonna get dressed, and I was on security at the time. And then I get this call, hey, Russ, they need you up the front gate. They need you at the front gate. So I go running in like half my costume. And they do this song at the Bay Area Ren Fair. They do this song the cast does where like they do it right in front of inside the front gates. And it's like basically introducing everybody to the festival and welcoming them in. And like, this is this group of people. And they come out and they do a verse. And then this is another. This is the peasant dancers, and these are the villains, and they come out. They each do like a verse that they make up and they sing, and it's really funny. And the fairies, like, all season long, you've made us beautiful, blah 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 blah. And they just ran. And here's a hat for Top Hat Russ, and then they put this on my head, and I'm like, and it was really fucking cute. And but like I said, and then I promised them, like, okay, well, I'm wearing this all goddamn day, and I did.
Yeah, let's see it. There it is. That's you.
Fucking gorgeous.
That's you.
Oh.
That is you.
Looks like we got a poor connection.
No? Oh, yeah.
And I must be. Maybe it's the hat.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I am seeing that we are.
Might be losing our connection, guys. I don't know if you can hear us or see us.
Reconnecting.
Let me see here. Oh, looks like we lost our connection.
Yep.
Network error.
Yep. All right, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
There we go. Yeah, see, to get you on the show, on the video, I have to call you. You can't call me. So.
Oh, okay.
So we are still streaming. We're still.
Yeah,
on.
I saw that. Holy shit!
Sorry about that, guys.
It's like we lost connection as soon as I put that fucking hat on.
Yeah, and I did. I lost connection there, and it's weird. So, I mean, we were about to wrap up.
We're about ready to wrap up anyway.
The only other thing I was going to bring up was the oh yeah, we got 0 viewers now. Everybody dropped off. But the only other thing I was going to bring up was the Killswitch Engaged video that you posted on our page for Holy Diver.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. The remake is kind of meh. That video though is actually kind of an homage to the original video.
Oh, was it?
Yes. If you watch the original, if you actually watch the original video, that whole scene where he actually goes in and sees the guy making the sword and throws the sword away. Dio does the exact same thing in the original video.
Oh, okay.
The difference is that he's not like going to try and wake up a princess or anything like that. It is this whole mythical thing where he's going out and he's fighting these creatures and stuff. But
now that I think about it, I think I have seen that video, but it's been such a long time.
I mean, it's very Dio.
Yeah. Holy diver!
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the video itself, like, I mean, I've heard better covers. It wasn't awful or anything, but I've heard better covers. But I just thought the video itself was kind of hilarious because they're all like, I mean, it's all very, very Renaissance Festival.
Yes.
Know?
Oh, yeah. It looked like they just grabbed a bunch of people from the Renaissance Festival and said, "Hey, can you come do this video?"
Yeah. This would be awesome, guys. Come on, let's come do this video. I can't remember who it was that I got it from or whatever, but it was, it was like, holy shit. Yeah, I'm putting this on the page. Why not? But yeah, you got anything else you want to?
Nope, that was about it.
All right. Hey, sorry guys. Sorry about the technical difficulties. It looks like maybe this Chris had a momentary lapse in his internet.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, but
all right.
But
anyways, guys, thanks for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us here on Nerds with Alcohol. Be sure to tell your friends about us. Tell everybody about us. We'd love to get some more followers. It certainly would help us out a bit more on Twitch and on the Twitch stream. Yeah. It certainly would help us out on the Twitch streams. In the meantime, you can find us on any of the places you can find quality podcasting. Guys, we are on iTunes. We're on the Google Play Store. We're on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, radio.com, and of course, you can download and stream our episodes on nerdswithalcoholshow.com, and then later we also were on Twitch and YouTube as well.
Yeah, and you can also follow us on most of the social medias. We are on Facebook, Nerds with Alcohol Show. We are on Twitter, Drinking Nerds, Instagram, Drinking Nerds, and then of course Twitch, Drinking Nerds, YouTube, Drinking Nerds, and then if you want, you can jump onto if you're on Untapped. You can search for Drinking Nerds, send us a friend request, and we will get you added.
Absolutely. But thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Sorry again about our technical difficulties. We're doing our best to try and get this squared away, but every week there seems to be something that, like last week, no problems. The week before, we were 10 minutes late because we had to fix situation. This week,
we were a
minutes.
little late because of other issues. We had some other technical issues last week, too.
Okay. I don't remember. Either way.
Someday we'll get it all worked out, but we are still working with like residential internet and stuff like that. So
correct, which is another whole ball of wax right there. So, all right. Well,
I think that'll about do it.
Yeah, I think that'll do it. So, on that note,
until next time.
Slancha.
That
was good.
That was good. Have a good week, everybody.
Yeah, good night.